Michelle was sitting on the couch with Connor, and after a while, she was feeding him, and she looked down, and she pulled him away from her and looked down, and he wasn't breathing anymore. And she handed him to me, and I yelled at my friend to call 911.
911 emergency.
I need an ambulance here immediately.
And the problem?
My friend's 3-day-old son is not breathing at all.
The panel also had to consider why Turner refused to call the parents back to the hospital.
That was, I thought, the most compassionate thing that I did all evening. And as one of the neonatologists said when she testified on our behalf, so you're going to call the parents? So what are you going to tell them? Your baby's still dead? They would love to hear that. They'd love to come back and watch the baby that's still dead getting even deader.
I took pictures of my woman close up, of my wife's figure when she was dancing and stuff. You know, this is very private. Maybe I'm filming her too much because I love her. I could film her all day. I don't know why people believe that this thing is a fake. This was just the way it was. This was our life. There was nothing fake about that video.
So you put the tie around her neck?
Yes.
And what'd you do with the tie?
I loosely tightened it so she could still breathe. He said to put the tie around her neck, otherwise he would bring her into his room and shove her on his bed, grab his gun, and shoot her.
I'm the story. I'm the rich kid from the powerful family that has an MBA, that taught. I don't care what you give me. You send me to the electric chair. There's no way in hell that I killed her.
The 28-year-old was suffering from severe mental illness, which was growing worse by the day. Caldwell had been a devout Christian. He now claimed to be an atheist, though he often heard the voice of God and was plagued by vivid hallucinations revolving mostly around religion.
When the mental illness becomes evident, you see that religiosity mixed in there. Where it actually turned over to mental illness is not clear, but it may be that when mental illness became full-blown, a lot of his religious beliefs became something he was very vocal about in a more delusional tone.
I just wanted to make sure it was white, so I'll be sure I get the literature. You know, if you give some black, they may not give me the literature for that.
After dismissing black and Hispanic shoppers, Caldwell said he saw a young white woman with 2 children leave the store, but rejected her as well.
I didn't want to kill the lady really because she had a family. She was still young.
Then an older white couple stopped to chat with a young woman. 57-year-old Mitchell Bell and his 52-year-old wife, Judith, had been shopping for curtains for their new home. The Bells fit Daniel Caldwell's profile.
Jurors, do not make something so simple so hard. I, Daniel Caldwell, deserve the death penalty.
Wedding Crashers caught on an all-new What Would You Do starting now.
Hidden cameras on.
Tonight, we ask, what would you do?
You know you make
Then, move over, Owen and Vince. Meet the real Wedding Crashers.
Yeah! Way to go!
If they crashed the biggest day of your life,
here's my friend Hugh.
Would you forever hold your peace or a piece of them?
Hold on a second. Slow down.
Rule number 1. Let's go. Never leave a crasher behind.
Never
leave a crasher behind.
Seem familiar?
Rule number 1. Never leave a fellow crasher behind.
In the movie Wedding Crashers, Vince Vaughn's and Owen Wilson's characters crash weddings for the free booze, free food, and the ladies.
You know you make me
After auditioning nearly 100 actors, we found our own, Vince and Owen. Vince is Eric Doviak, a high school Spanish teacher. Owen is Mark Noonan, a professional actor. With our actors in place, we wanted to see what guests would do when Eric...
I'd just like to propose a toast.
and Mark, seen here rehearsing...
That's a really bad dog.
...crashed a wedding. Would people catch on? And what would they do?
Living the dream.
Yeah, really. It's great.
She paged Russell Peeler. He called right back. She told him that they were home. Russell said, "Thanks for looking out," or "Good looking out," something like that. And within about 10 minutes, Adrian was knocking at the door with a revolver in his hand.
The two then walked across the street to Karen and BJ's house.
There was a knock on the door. Karen answers the door. She asks, "Who's there?" And Josephine says, "It's the girl from across the street." Karen begins to open the door.
At that point, Adrian burst in. Adrian then proceeded to chase Clark and BJ up the stairs.
Karen was probably shot in the abdomen at that point.
Adrian chased Miss Clark to the rear bedroom, where we heard some conversation about Clark or BJ being a witness in a murder case.
And there's two more shots, and she lies dead on the floor. He then comes out into the hallway where the little boy is lying, screaming for his mother, and pow, one shot in the head. And that's it.
These are witnesses for our justice system. It was all so predictable. So now we have 3 murders, 3 people killed because the authorities in Connecticut couldn't get it right.
Some of the criticism suggests that perhaps we shouldn't have prosecuted here. To me, we had a drug ring that was running amok in the streets of Bridgeport, was murdering witnesses, and was something that absolutely had to be stopped. And the only way we can stop these kinds of crimes is with witnesses. If I had to do it over again, I'd have to say I'd do it all again.
This is Storm Stories with meteorologist Jim Cantori.
We had so much smoke. We had flying embers everywhere.
It's that magnificent orange, like a sunset.
They said, you got to get out. We don't have control of it, and it's going to come into town.
I just knew in my heart that our house was going. And there's just no doubt I knew.
Mother Nature rules. And then when she wants to, she's coming your way.
At 3:30 p.m., Jennifer Carper and her infant son are hoisted to the helicopter. It is an emotional moment for the young mother as she hovers in midair.
Having the responsibility of hanging on to this tiny baby, at that point I thought, oh my gosh, this is serious. We could die. I could drop him.
Watching Jennifer go up very much scared me. And I'm thinking, geez, one slip here, dream house or not, it wasn't worth it. That was the hardest time, watching her go up with Noah in the basket.
When we got rescued by the Coast Guard, when they were actually pulling me in, the Coast Guard guy that brought us in on the basket actually hugged me and asked me if we were okay. And it just meant so much to me to have him do that.
The chopper returns to rescue Todd. The basket is lowered once again, but this time the Coast Guard confronts a unique situation.
How many dogs? Said 2.
Todd is worried that his 2 dogs and 2 cats will be washed away in the flood. Coast Guard policy is not to rescue animals, but Todd refuses to leave without his pets.
And I said, well, we got to take the pets. And he kind of shook his head. I don't think he said anything, but I just said, well, I'm not going unless they go. I purchased Rusty for Jennifer for her birthday. He went everywhere with us, did everything with us.
One dog was like our child. They meant a lot to us, and that's part of the reason why Todd wouldn't leave them. They were our family members.
Well, we're not going to be picking up the pets, you know. It was one of those things, you know. There's no reason to be bringing the pets. We're here to save lives.
From the shore of the river, Deputy Sheriff John Dearmore is growing frantic as he watches the raging waters.
It was nerve-wracking that he's not just jumping in that basket, and the Coast Guard's overhead with this huge helicopter with these 180-mile-per-hour downdraft winds from the rotos, and you know, and everyone's going, come on, get on.
By now, everyone's patience is running low. The clock is ticking, and the Coast Guard has to make a decision.
How big are the dogs? Can he hold both of them in his lap and go get in the basket? Negative. I don't want to leave this guy here.
Running in Africa is like football here. I mean, they are the superstars. And Toby's gotten the endorsements of all of these major athletes to help us. And one of the projects we took on this year, which we've done, is centered around the largest slum in Africa, which is Kibera. And it's 1.2 million people living in a space the size of Central Park with no running water. So it's literally alleyways of sewage, basically. And in that, with people not having shoes, this hookworm comes into their body, and 92% of the children there have gastrointestinal diseases that make their survival rate, if, God forbid, they become HIV positive, next to nil.